Memphis in my day was a rough and tumbling river town. It was full of music, drink, gambling, and cotton. It held great dangers and great opportunities. The river brought me to Memphis in 1862, and here I stayed, building a family and an empire. Fame and fortune did not come easy. Memphis certainly gave me heartache. Even still, I became one of its greatest champions. After all, during my time in Memphis, I became the first black millionaire in the South. I am Robert Church, and this is my story. I was born in Holly Springs, Mississippi in 1839. My mother's name was Emmeline, and she was a slave. My father, Charles Church, was the owner. He was a wealthy white man who owned 2 luxury steamboats. Charles had affection for me, but he did not exactly treat me like a son, nor did he acknowledge me in that way. When I was 12, my mother died. I was full of grief. Even in my sadness, though, I look back on this time and realize that it was a turning point for me. You see, my father made an effort to take good care of me by bringing me out on the river with him. Back in the day, rivers were the highways of the mid-1800s. Traveling by coach on land was dangerous, time-consuming, and cramped. Rivers were a quick and comfortable way to travel. On the steamboat, I learned how to serve wealthy businessmen and planters. It wasn't formal schooling, but it was an education in business. I earned money, and I saved what I earned. In 1862, during the Civil War, we were moving supplies upriver for the Confederacy. The Union captured our boat, and I had a choice. I could stay on the boat and be taken in by the Union troops, or I could jump off and take my chances on shore in Memphis. I jumped. Memphis was full of opportunity. With the money I saved working on the steamboat, I bought a saloon downtown on 2nd and Gayoso. It was a popular spot for drinking, dancing, gambling, and playing pool. My time on the steamboat taught me how to serve people, and I decided to try my hand at it on land. The saloon thrived. My business interests grew and I invested in several houses of ill repute, shall we say. Although they were legal at the time, I eventually distanced myself from them to protect my family's reputation. After the war ended, there was a huge Irish population in Memphis. They competed with freed blacks for work and tensions ran high. In 1866, a fight broke out between mostly Irish police officers and former black Union Army soldiers. It led to a mob of angry white civilians robbing and pillaging the black community. I was shot and left for dead in my saloon. The ride lasted 3 days, and in the end, 46 blacks and 2 whites died. Luckily, I survived the Memphis massacre, though the wound caused massive headaches that I suffered with for the rest of my life. Violence and war were not the only threats in Memphis. In my day, yellow fever devastated river towns. The worst outbreak was in 1878. Half the population of Memphis fled. Of the 15,000 people who stayed, 5,000 died. With so few taxpayers, we couldn't support city services, and the city went bankrupt. But despite the devastation, I saw opportunity. I purchased abandoned land and buildings. My empire began to take shape. I came to be known as the richest colored man in America. In 1893, a plan was made to regain the city charter. $1,000 bonds were being sold to raise money. I was the first person, black or white, to step forward and purchase a bond. I had invested in Memphis and was determined to see it survive and thrive. In 1906, I started Solvent Savings Bank, Memphis' first black bank. This bank gave blacks an opportunity to get home loans and business loans. I knew I could do more for Memphis too. I built Church Park and a playground on Beale, the first public amenities of their kind for black citizens in our town. I added a massive auditorium to the park where entertainers and speakers like W.C. Handy and Theodore Roosevelt drew thousands of people. Looking back, I wonder how I did so much when I started with so little. I gave Memphis more than parks and buildings and businesses. I gave this river town a new idea. The idea that black citizens had great potential. My family carried on this idea. My son, Robert, brought the Lincoln League to Memphis, registering thousands of black voters. My daughter, Mary, an activist and teacher, became one of the first black women to earn a college degree in this country. I'm proud to say my family's work made other people's lives better. We planted seeds that grew into the civil rights movement of the 20th century. I'm Robert Church, and this is my legacy.